I love this. I caught it. I caught it. I wasn't expecting it to fall out the back. All right. I'm awake. What is up, everybody? It is your host, Nick Anderson, also known as Amongst the Whiskey, and today I am joined once again by ace author Jes Smyth for a wonderful tasting of Milam and Greene, The Answer. Jes, welcome in.
Thank you for having me again.
You are everybody's favorite guest on Amongst the Whiskey.
I'm happy to be here.
Your palate's exquisite. There is nobody better for the task of picking apart the two whiskeys that we're going to taste today from Milam and Greene. The Answer is a very special release examining the difference between Texas-aged whiskey and Kentucky-aged whiskey. You excited?
I am so stoked for this. This is something that has been a curiosity of mine for a while now. Just how, especially Texas aged whiskey, right? Just how the differences in that climate can affect barrel aging. So this is actually really exciting. I'm really excited to dive into this.
Any hypotheses on what we may taste in differences between the two?
Having had several examples of Texas whiskey, I would think that the Texas aged whiskey would have more flavor, maybe a bit more robust, and probably a little bit higher in proof. I think it is. But I think that it will come out a little bit more bold in terms of what we're going to taste.
Is that traditionally your experience with Texas whiskey? Bold flavors?
Yeah, and it's not. I feel like aged whiskey, or sorry, Texas whiskey, it ages quicker, right? Like if you look at Still Austin, for example, they have like 2 year aged whiskey that just comes out tasting twice as old. So, and it's just wild. I think it is because of the climate. So yeah, I'm excited.
Do you like Texas whiskey?
Depending on the distillery.
Ah, depends.
Yes.
So, we will put that up to the test with seeing what Milam and Greene can pull out
Yeah.
of their Bardstown distilled stock.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Let's get into this. Let's get some glasses ready. Let's get poured up. I know you have the same samples that I have,
Hmm.
so we'll do Texas first, then Kentucky.
Which one's lower proof? Is it Kentucky?
Kentucky's lower proof. Maybe we should start with Kentucky.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so. Okay.
Well, let's get them into glasses. And while they're opening up, I will give folks some background details on what this project all entails.
That sounds good.
I love this. I caught it. I caught it. I wasn't expecting it to fall out the back. All right. I'm awake. I was going to try to say I love this presentation with the box, Milam and Greene, The
Yeah.
Answer.
Yeah.
That's going to be really cool for folks to have at home.
Yeah. Just don't drop your glass.
Don't drop your whiskey, folks.
Don't don't drop it. You've already done that.
All right, despite the fact that we're going to taste Kentucky first, I will have Texas just on the left because that's how it came in my presentation
Yeah.
box.
Yeah.
But we'll talk through what we have in each glass.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the third glass, I think we want to have it be a blend. So try to do a 50-50 blend of the two.
This is fun.
I'm
Look at how
excited for this.
perfectly I poured these two samples. Look at that.
Nicely done. Neck and neck. All right. I think I did my blend okay.
Yeah.
We'll give the blend a nice swirl, and we will leave that for quite some time to mix and mingle.
Yeah.
Got these lovely little Milam and Greene glasses as well. I'll be tasting out of that today. Okay, the whiskey nerd details. Let's get into that.
Yes, let's go.
So I'm going to pull a little bit out of the press release here. It's a little wordy. Honestly, the writers that put this press release together probably should write for amongstthewhiskey.com because this is going to be a mouthful. So bear with me for a little bit here. But The details are important here. This is a really cool project. So from the presser, they say Milam and Green Whiskey is introducing the Answer Straight Bourbon, the first whiskey in the United States to isolate and identify the difference in the impact of climate on whiskey flavor and proof between Kentucky and Texas. For more than 5 years, Milam and Green aged whiskey from the exact same distillation in Kentucky and in the Texas Hill Country. The result is a groundbreaking side-by-side bourbon bottle set. It invites whiskey enthusiasts to explore the distinct science in a glass of each bourbon, and then to try their hand at blending, a technique central to Milam and Green's acclaimed whiskeys. So here's the nerdy stuff. To isolate the effect of local climate on bourbon aging, the Milam and Green team distilled a batch of bourbon in Bardstown, Kentucky in October 2019, so this has been a long time coming, using its proprietary yeast strain and specific mash bill. Half of the batch stayed and aged in Bardstown, Kentucky, while the other half was immediately shipped to Blanco, Texas, to age in the rickhouse at the Milam and Green distillery. All of the bourbon rested in 53-gallon barrels. There's a quote here: "We wanted to better understand how temperature fluctuation between the two environments influences flavor extraction in our whiskey. So one of the first activities we did together as a team was lay down these barrels in 2 states in 2019, says Heather Greene, CEO and master blender at Milam and Green. The popular hypothesis was that the hotter, drier climate significantly differentiates Texas bourbon across the board with higher oak extraction compared to Kentucky bourbon. That assumption is a good one. You I think, had that assumption too, Jess.
Yeah.
But now we can taste side by side the difference between the two. Heather encourages other distilleries in Texas to iterate on these findings, and she suspects that many will come up with similar results. This is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Bardstown in general has colder winters with an average temperature of 40 degrees Fahrenheit in January, warm summers with an average temperature of 86.5 degrees Fahrenheit in July, and higher humidity ranging from 65 to 85%. Higher humidity promotes slower evaporation at 2 to 4%, creating a final proof of 108 in the Kentucky age sample. The climate in Blanco is warmer with milder winters, averaging a temperature of 60 degrees Fahrenheit in January. Record hot summers during the experiment, averaging a temperature of 93.7 degrees Fahrenheit in July, and lower humidity ranging from 50 to 60%. These rapid and dramatic temperature changes that happen within just the last month in Blanco were also worth noting, comparing with Kentucky. The evaporation rate in Blanco was often greater than 10% per year, producing a natural final proof of 116. So higher proof on Texas, your hypothesis held. So this is where it gets juicy. Milam and Green Whiskey conducted interim sensory analyses and then a final sensory and chemical analysis after 5 years to measure differences in 10 compounds that correlate with sensory elements in the whiskey. The results are intriguing, I agree, as a whiskey nerd. There were differences in the ppm, parts per million, of all naturally occurring compounds measured, such as acetaldehyde, methanol, propanol, ethyl acetate, butanol, furfural. That's a fun one. Furfural, yes. Nancy Fraley loves going crazy about the furfurols. Phenylethyl alcohol and variants of methylbutanol and methylpropanol. These compounds that produce the woodier characteristics on the palate showed a higher ppm in the Texas-aged bourbon than the fruitier, flowery, estery notes of the Kentucky-aged bourbon. So there's some science to back this. This is measurable. This is really cool. And what is measurable should also be able to be tasted, right?
Yeah.
So the base mash bill on this whiskey is 70% corn, 8% malted barley, and 22% malted rye. Really intriguing mash bill there. I think that's Milam and Green's like just core mash bill that they distilled at Bardstown Bourbon Company.
Yeah.
And we get to see that mash bill aged in 2 different locations and see what Milam and Green is really all about. This is kind of their core philosophy here. So, what do you think, Jess? You ready to get into a taste? So we talked about how the science-forward nerds at Milam and Green were able to actually measure these, but I wonder if we'll taste a difference. I think we should do just that.
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, so we're going to start out with the Kentucky aged. Give you guys a nice close-up of the bottle. I really love this presentation, that gold lettering, super nice. And again, this is the lower proof sample. I think this is a great one to taste first.
And you say low proof, but it's still 54.15%. So that's still a little Kentucky
Still,
hug.
yeah, 108.3 proof.
Yep. Yeah. Good proof point.
Let's get to it. On the
Okay.
nose,
Ooh, it's sweet.
it is definitely sweet.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah, candy florals.
candy florals. Yes. My brain went straight to candy.
Yeah, it's got like saltwater taffy
Oh,
flavor, like the you know how the wrapper almost has as much aroma as the candy does,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
more. There's like
Mm-hmm.
more aroma in the wrapper than the candy itself. Saltwater
100%.
with saltwater
Yeah.
taffy, it kind of smells like a saltwater taffy
Does.
wrapper.
A little, I mean, definitely get some of that oak spice, the cinnamon, but it's soft. It's not like super punchy in your face.
Yeah, yeah. 5 years in Bardstown. I think obviously the temperatures do swing
Hmm.
pretty significantly, but that's not a hyper dark whiskey by any
No,
means.
no, it's really not.
And obviously bottled at, barrel proof.
Hmm. Which, it's not burning my nose off for 108. It feels
Yeah,
right, right?
yeah. I think, you know, if you were not doing this for a specific science duration, like I don't know
Hmm.
how they chose 5 years specifically, but
Hmm.
yeah, if this is kind of at the point where I would probably say, all right, that whiskey's worth bottling right now for sure.
But
There's
yeah,
a
I
little
think,
bit
go
of a
ahead.
nuttiness on the nose. It's on like kind of the back end though. Are you getting some of that? I think that might be the malted rye component in the mash bill.
Maybe a little bit. What type of nut?
It's not peanutty at all. It's
Hmm.
it's something light and exotic. I don't know what. Maybe like a macadamia nut.
Oh, okay. It's not like there's flavors or there's aromas in here, but it's not super it's overwhelming, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
It is overwhelming.
No, it's not. It's
It's not overwhelming. Yeah,
it's soft.
yeah. It is soft. Yep. I really liked that first wave of aroma,
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, it's kind of almost trickling off in intensity now.
It is trickling off. Yeah.
Before our palates start mixing with how alcohol can kind of rise through your chest, do you want to nose Texas a little bit first
Yeah,
before we taste?
definitely. Hmm.
Let's. And same beautiful packaging on the Texas sample here. Looking at a little bit higher of a proof. This one is 58.65%, so 117.3 proof. Quick maths.
So
Could you
so
do
we
that
like to
math that fast?
no. I'm an author. I'm not a mathematician. Thank you very much. I like words. I don't like numbers.
Having doubled percentages to like
Yes.
write proofs on things for so long, like my doubling skills are
Wicked fast.
wicked sharp.
Wicked sharp.
All right, let's
Okay.
nose on that Texas sample a little bit.
All right.
Interesting. There is definitely a difference there.
Yeah. This is more robust.
This is creamy.
Yeah, I would say cream. Yep. That over candied sweetness that we got on the first one, it's not as in your face. It's still there. It's definitely still there. I think you were right though. It kind of transformed into like a creamier type of
Yeah.
sweetness.
Buttercream frosting.
Yeah, 100%. It's remind me of
Weird.
like cinnamon buns,
Yeah.
fresh out of the oven. I get some. Ooh.
Yeah, it's got the glaze on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I think it doesn't have the same pop and wow factor of that candy sweetness that the Kentucky
Yeah.
had off the get go, but I
Right.
think it's a little more consistent, a little more
Hmm.
full and robust than as
Yeah,
compared to the Kentucky.
I would agree. There's almost like I kind of got it on the Kentucky whiskey, but I feel like I can smell it more here. Almost like a paper, like a clay,
Hmm.
little earthiness.
Yeah, this one's a little more butterscotch,
Hmm.
earthy. Yeah, it's not quite full like dusty
No.
bourbon, but yeah, it's leaning towards that.
Yeah. It's like powdered something. Not powdered sugar, but powdery.
Is that like a texture? So creamy plus like a powder.
Powder.
Is a texture in the nose feel?
It kind of is. Yeah. Yeah. I would say it's a texture in the nose feel.
Yeah, and that makes sense. That's some of those oak extracted compounds I think can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost It has the sharpness of a black pepper without being singy.
Hmm. Yeah. It's more exciting than the Kentucky. This nose is definitely keeping my attention and making me go, hmm.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's not to say this Kentucky nose isn't good. It's just softer. It's like a pillow.
Yeah. No.
Oh, way softer.
Yeah, it's way softer.
Ooh,
I went back as well, and yeah,
yeah, wildly softer.
yeah. I almost lose interest in the Kentucky sample a little bit
Yeah,
after nosing the Texas.
yeah. Although I can see, because I can be a seasonal drinker, right? And I think a lot of people are. I can see this one in like the middle of the day if you're having lunch out with family or whatever. I can see this outside in the
Kentucky.
sunshine. Yeah, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Texas, I think, would be more appropriate for maybe cooler temps, maybe nighttime, just because it's more robust. But I can definitely see this one in the upcoming summer months being enjoyed.
Yeah. For those of us in the North American continent.
Right, right. Everyone's from Chicago, come on.
Yeah, just assume everyone's from Chicago or Boston.
Or Boston.
And anybody else has just the wrong weather and the wrong mindset about how to exist on Earth.
Yes, I agree. Hmm.
All right. Final thoughts on the differences, I guess, between the noses on Kentucky versus Texas?
Yeah. No, I think Kentucky's just a little bit more chill, and Kentucky or Texas is more in your face,
Yeah.
more exciting.
Yeah. Kentucky, floral,
Hmm.
sweet candy. Texas, thicker, creamier, a little
Hmm.
more robust.
Yeah, agreed.
Want to see how they taste?
Yeah, I'm ready to try Kentucky.
Let's try Kentucky first. Cheers.
Cheers.
What do you think?
It's not as sweet as I thought it was going to be, but I'm getting like this honeycomb,
Ooh, yeah.
right? Not honey, not like squeezed honey, because it's got like a honey. I don't know. It's honeycomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're biting into something, though. It's like,
Right.
it almost has like a juiciness.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's got the gusher's surprise.
Gab that fruit snack.
It definitely has a little fruitiness, though, on the palate for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. What are you getting?
It's like a little bit of a raspberry tart. Not
Mm.
super distinct. It's very
Mm-hmm.
light, mellow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like you just had a little nibble
Yeah.
of. I'm just gonna have a little nibble of a corner of a raspberry tart, just
Yeah, I
like a
can see
little
that.
preview.
Yeah.
I think
Uh,
fresh palate needs a second taste
Another,
here.
well, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. It definitely. I can feel the Bardstown
Mm-hmm.
distillery
Mm-hmm.
core.
Mm-hmm.
Like it definitely has their profile, where it's a little bit on the thin side on the mouthfeel for me,
Yeah.
but has just a wonderful attack of just that fruit sweetness.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as floral and definitely not as sweet as the nose would have let on. I
Not at
agree
all.
with your
Yeah.
finding there.
Yeah.
But it just has that essence. It like
It does.
I can almost tell it was distilled at Bardstown.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's got a nice hug. I can feel
Yeah.
it going down.
Oh yeah, it holds on.
Yeah. I wish it had a little bit more sweetness to it. I wish that the
Yeah.
nose and the palate did kind of mesh a little bit more. Um,
Sure.
but I like it. I think it's good. It's enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah. Your summer finding is probably right
Yeah.
on point there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Hot weather pour, something that you could have
Hmm.
without, you know, burning your face off. It's
Yeah.
going to be a good pour for those
It'd
hot
be good.
hot days. Very interesting.
Hmm.
Freshen up the palates. Move on to
Oh, yeah.
Texas.
Hmm. The color of Texas is a little bit darker.
Yeah, it really is.
Hmm. Obviously, it's hard to see on camera, but
Yeah, no, it really is.
yeah.
Texas came out darker for sure.
Hmm.
Texas aging, higher proof, more extraction, deeper
Yeah.
penetration into the wood.
Yeah.
You're gonna get more color.
Yeah.
So I like swirled the Texas glass a little bit too, and it
Yeah.
almost looks like it leaves like a ring
Hmm.
of residue in the glass
Hmm.
when the legs fall down.
Yeah.
And that's something I've noticed on Texas aged whiskeys. Like that happens.
Yeah.
You get this fogginess in
There's
glasses.
there's totally a fogginess
There's a
happening right now.
fogginess, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed it probably the most at Garrison Brothers
Yeah.
when I went there and
Yeah.
was, drilling barrels and pulling samples to do a barrel pick. Those glasses looked like I had milk in them or something. Like they were so foggy.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. It maybe some of those chemicals that are
Mm.
further extracted in lower humidity but still high temp swings.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. When you pay attention to whiskey, whiskey gets cool.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm such a nerd.
I love this for us.
All right.
It's why we'd like to be long-winded whiskey writers.
Yeah.
You give me a run for my money on word counts, that's for sure.
No way. No way. Nick, you got it beat. Come on.
Hey, I said you give me a run for my money. I didn't
Ah.
say I wasn't handing over the crown.
I'd rather have a run for your bottles, thanks.
Yeah, I could see you. I could see you making out with a armload of whiskey from the whiskey study and having a comfortable retirement.
That's why I work out every day so I can take those bottles.
All right, let's
Oh,
taste Texas here.
yeah, yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. Hmm. Okay. The
What you
creamy,
got?
the creaminess on this palate is insane.
Way creamier.
Way creamier. A
And that
lot more.
matches the nose.
Oh, yeah, it so matches the nose.
I like that for this. Yeah, I like that for the
Ooh.
Texas.
When I inhaled just now, there was a flash of something, but then it went away because we were talking about mouthfeel. But I think it was like either a raspberry or blackberry that just like
Hmm.
flashed into my mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it still has the same core, the same heart, right? That
Hmm.
base yeast, that base mash bill, the
Hmm.
still it was distilled on. You can trace that line between these two glasses, but the outcome between the two after 5 years of aging is significantly different.
Significant. And that was just with one sip.
Yeah, I love this kind of side by side because you can see the similarities and you can see the differences.
Yeah. It's so cool.
Yeah. It kind of lends credence to, you know, everybody always ballparks percentages, like how much of the flavor comes from yeast versus mash bill
Yeah.
versus the barrel. And
Right.
everybody kind of heavyweights the barrel. But after 5 years of aging in two different climates, and obviously just different barrels, right? There was 8 barrels for each climate. I can still see the base distillate. Like I can,
Yeah.
and that's not me saying this tastes young by any mean. I just can taste the fact that this came off of Bardstown still on
Hmm.
both.
Hmm.
And despite
Hmm.
the fact that they are so not egregiously different,
Hmm.
you can draw the line between the two for sure.
100%. Yeah.
And it maybe is tied neatly with a bow with that raspberry note that you mentioned.
Yeah. I'm gonna go for another sip.
Let's.
Yeah. That's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Almost has this kind of pancakey
There's a
breadiness to it that like layers in with that creaminess.
there's definitely a more bready quality to
Yeah.
this one compared to the Kentucky one for sure.
More bready.
Yeah, definitely. Hmm.
In a good way. I like that flavor.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too.
It's got a light, like a blackstrap molasses, but it's like lightened somehow.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Like it, molasses should have more of a punchy flavor. This has been kind of toned back by, I don't know, maybe some vanilla notes that are
Mm.
intermingling with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cohesive, and that's a compliment to any whiskey. This is a
Yeah.
very cohesive pour.
100%. Yep. It's got a nice linger to it too. I feel like if you were to breathe really deeply in the rick house, that's kind of like the aftertaste that I'm getting. It's just like the air in a rick house, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, it's nice.
People sometimes talk about some of the flavor profiles of Texas whiskeys having a little bit of a funk. Does
Yeah.
this have that Texas funk?
Not overtly. I think you got to look for it. I think you got to really dig into it.
Yeah.
I really think the creaminess of this and that raspberry and the breadiness kind of, yeah, I don't get a funk. Maybe on the
Yeah.
linger. Maybe that linger is where the funk is.
Yeah. I'm thinking later in the glass it starts to show up on the nose a little bit.
Okay.
The pancake turns into like a waffle breading, and the
Ooh,
molasses starts to take over, and it is just laced in with that slightly
yeah.
funky oak. It definitely has a little more oak influence
Yeah, yeah, it
compared to the
definitely
Kentucky.
does. Yeah, definitely. Hmm, wild.
Okay, Texas, go off. Like, that is delicious.
It's really good.
Yeah,
I'm a fan.
I'm a fan too.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Hmm. Well done.
Yeah, that has captured my attention. That has captured my heart. That's
Yeah.
whiskey worth sipping for sure.
Yeah.
Blanco. Pretty long finish on Texas too, yeah?
Yep. I agree.
Yeah, late in the glass here on the nose, getting a little bit of that nutmeg back
Mm.
end, a little more of the
Hmm.
wood spice kind of
Hmm.
influence for sure.
Yeah. Ooh, more pepper too.
Yeah,
Lots more pepper right now. Wow.
Texas will do that to you.
And then there's Kentucky. Kentucky's great. It's just like softer, like the bluegrasses in Kentucky, and
Yeah,
waving in the wind. That's kind of what this is.
there's a case for terroir and whiskey, right? Everybody talks about terroir and wine more,
Hmm.
but there's a case like this smells like Kentucky.
It does. Yeah,
Having
there's no
visited many
denying that.
times,
Hmm.
been to many distilleries, it smells like Kentucky. Bluegrass right there. Yeah, for sure. All right,
Yes.
the moment that everybody has been waiting for, the blend. What does that taste like? So I've mixed up about 50-50 of both. I'm assuming that was the quantity that was intended for the blend. In a very similar glass. This one just happens to be from Starlight, but
I did not. I
I
did my
wanted it I
Glen.
wanted it to be fair.
I did my Glen.
Oh, you're going full science nerd.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're treating this like a amongstthewhiskey.com review. Glencairn only.
Yeah.
It's good to have standardization because the glassware you use does affect how you taste whiskey.
Yeah.
Especially nose, but also taste.
Yeah.
Because taste is partially nose, too.
Hmm.
All right. Nosing on the blend.
Yeah.
Is it right in the middle ground? Is it building on the best parts of both?
I think it is. I think Texas definitely is shining, and I think Kentucky is just kind of supporting what was found in Texas. You know, it's
Oh,
kind
all
of
right.
it's like a supporting actor or whatever.
That's cool. I like
It's the
that.
it's the rhythm section in the band.
I like that analogy. That's you're just layering on analogies onto the original analogy. What are you, an author or something?
Yeah, I love them. I love analogies and metaphors.
Is it a metaphor or is it an analogy?
I
Or is
don't
it
know.
both?
I don't know. Metaphor is
Something like something,
right.
right?
Something
Or
like
that's a
something.
simile.
No, it's a metaphor. This is not an English lesson. All of
It
my
is
books are
now.
they're basically all metaphors.
It's just one long metaphor.
One long metaphor. If you do not like metaphors, you will not like my books. Period.
What do you call a string of metaphors? Like when you just tie them all together.
Metafix? I have no idea.
Jes Smyth fiction.
Just Smiction.
Jes Smiction. Okay, yes, back to the whiskey. What are we nosing here?
All right, I the floral notes are more present in the blend. Definitely get more of the
Okay.
floral.
The floral characteristics of Kentucky are amplified in the blend.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And gone nose blind. So weird.
Wow. Weird. I just smelled my grandmother's cigarettes somewhere.
In your fingertips that you just shoved into your nostrils.
Yeah. Weird.
Maybe. No, I think she's visiting. I think she's like, "Hello, Nicholas."
She probably is, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Proud of what we're doing here.
Yeah,
For realsies. For realsies, what do you think about the nose here?
I like it. I think it's a nice mix of both of them.
On the nose, I think I like the Texas actually better than the blend personally.
Yeah. This one does take away, like it's not as creamy as the Texas one.
Yeah.
You know, it does cut down on that creaminess. But I do think that it is more dynamic than the Texas in terms of what aromas are coming out of the Glen or the glass. I do think that there's more, as there should be.
It,
There's two different whiskeys, right?
yeah, and it could benefit from blending time too. Like if you were to leave this for 24 hours,
Yeah,
48 hours, cap it,
yeah.
put it in a bottle, I think that's going to change how your blend comes out. I fundamentally kind of have a problem with these like live blends. They never really turn out how they're going to turn out. So
Yeah.
I've seen it time after time on barrel picks where, people will just start dumping
Oh, for
glasses
sure.
together and being like, I'm a master blender. Look at how great this came out. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it tastes pretty good right now, but what's it going to taste like tomorrow? Or
Hmm.
what's it going to
Hmm.
taste like when you actually combine those barrels that have different fill levels, right?
Right.
Maybe
Yeah.
you did 50-50, but the barrels are one is 80% full and one is 20% full. What does
Yep.
that mean for your blend at the end of that?
Yep. Takes more than just dumping things into a glass.
Yeah. And I do think that the Milam and Green team are doing a great job with their blending
Hmm. Yeah.
process, right? The fact that they have to blend, that's like their core tenet, right? They're constructing whiskeys from exactly what we're tasting, right? These two different
Yeah.
aged locations. That's
Yeah.
that's really what their flagship kind of brand is built on.
I'm ready to taste it.
Let's taste it.
Yeah. Okay. Cheers. I
What say you?
like the Texas better.
Yeah,
And really, it's just it's splitting hairs. It's that mouthfeel. It's that creaminess that has been
yeah,
taken away.
yeah,
So, and the flavors aren't any more complex.
yeah. What I will say, the blend is definitely more cohesive and more approachable for
Mm,
your everyday drinker.
hmm.
I definitely can see this blend being like, I could see the non decade long whiskey sipper,
Hmm.
the people that are just getting into whiskey now,
Hmm.
falling in love with the blend because it's very approachable, it's very drinkable, it
Yeah.
has good flavor, it has good viscosity, it has good complexity. But for the people that have tasted everything,
Yeah.
you're looking for that uniqueness, that niche, that corner pocket that just hits your palate just right or
Hmm.
reminds you of something specific.
Hmm.
And I would say, yeah, the Texas sample on its own is that for me.
Yeah.
But I can see the blend being an absolute crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
It's very good. I have no qualms with it whatsoever.
Mm,
There's nothing wrong with the blend. It tastes awesome.
yeah. It's good.
But for the long term enthusiast, I think they'll be a little more excited about the Texas.
Yes.
If the long time enthusiasts are picking up this bundle, this set, right? Texas plus Kentucky in the very
Mm.
wonderful fancy box that I totally dropped and nearly broke. I think the long term enthusiast is going to go, the Texas age stuff is it. And that
Yeah.
might honestly inspire Milam and Green to invest a little more in doing Texas specific releases for enthusiasts. I think you can
Yeah.
have your core, which is this blend, which I think is absolutely crushable for the everyday drinker, right?
Hmm.
And the enthusiast is going to want to see some niche projects with probably just that Texas distillate or Texas aged distillate.
Yeah. Sound like they might be onto something, keeping everyone happy
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
engaged.
Play both sides.
Play both sides.
Just don't release the Bardstown aged in Bardstown on its own.
No.
Be unique, be different,
Yeah.
stick to that for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I think the Texas portion of what they're doing is who they are. I think
Yeah.
that's what they need to lean in on.
Yeah. I will be honest, I have not had a lot of Milliam and Green. So this is, I'm impressed.
Yeah,
And I do, like you said, I do hope that they lean more into their Texas aged, because
sure.
that is where it's exciting. That's where you keep me engaged, you engaged too.
Yeah,
So yeah, I would buy more if it was Texas aged.
yeah,
Hmm.
right.
Hmm.
Now, yeah, it almost keys you into
Hmm.
looking for that now, right?
It does. Yeah. And
Like,
I would love to try more that is maybe aged more than 5 years. I'd be curious to see what happens to the flavors having tasted this 5 year now.
Yeah.
So in comparison to Kentucky too, it's really neat. It's really neat to taste that mash bill in different ways. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to retry the blend.
Okay.
Yeah. I think finding sticks there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So you get some of the spice, some
Mm-hmm.
of the creaminess,
Mm-hmm.
some of the floral, some
Mm-hmm.
of the raspberry
Oh yeah.
characteristic.
Yeah.
Like that is the note I think through everything is
Yeah.
that little corner of the raspberry tart that you nibbled off.
Yep. Yep.
That's very nice.
It is. It's got a little poppiness at the end too. A little fizziness for me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The linger I think is better on the blend than the Kentucky only sample.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So that's a net win for me for the blend for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually think the linger is better than even Texas. The blend is better than the Texas
Yeah.
linger because it's not as licking a barrel almost in the linger. This one's a little bit more subdued, which is good.
Yeah.
I like that.
You're a little more the pro blend than I am. I think that
Hmm.
the Texas for me is still
I like them both. I like them
yeah.
both. I am definitely leaning towards Texas, but I'm trying to be fair to the blend because I do love that it's amplifying. They're complementing each other in a way that I was hoping that they would.
Yeah.
So I like when
Yeah.
things come together.
So on the Texas alone, there are some high flying notes that
Hmm.
need to be subdued
Hmm.
for it to be a more approachable release for everybody.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
But I love those high flying
I
notes.
know,
Like
I do too.
I'm like leave those in there, please don't blend them out.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, the kind of the single barrel purist in me is thinking like let me try the single barrel, right? Even though
Hmm.
it's still a blend of 8 barrels, right?
Hmm.
But the single barrel purist in me is like I want to find the one off perfect whiskey for my palate
Yeah.
and like the effort of going through and creating something truly unique, right? The Bardstown distilled aged
Hmm.
in Texas, like that is a more interesting story to me than blending the Bardstown distilled Kentucky aged Kentucky and Texas aged whiskeys. It's a more compelling story because I like to taste the terroir. I want to know what you're really about, like
Yeah.
what your home tastes like.
Yeah.
This is way more intimate for me.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is this is me getting to know you on a
Hmm.
level that
Hmm.
most people don't get to.
Yeah. But I do like that they are leaning into their blending too. Like that's what you said, that is kind of like
Yeah.
what they're known for. So I agree with you. It's really neat to see the differences and to get to know the terroir and all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if this is a construction of what their blending skill is, their blending skill is on point.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like, that's a good blend. That is going to
It's a
be a
good
crowd
blend.
pleaser.
Yeah.
It almost, you know what the final product kind of reminds me of? A little bit of wild turkey.
Oh, the
Yeah,
blend?
the blend. Yeah. It kind of reminds me
I can
of
see
wild
that.
turkey
I
distillate.
can
Yeah.
totally see that. Yeah. Interesting. That's high
Which
praise,
is
Nick.
I was gonna say that's wicked high praise for me because
Yeah.
I am that's probably like my number one distillery. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I'd say if the team is capable of making this blend consistently with the breadth of their stock and
Hmm.
can do that at scale,
Hmm.
Milam and Green probably has a bright future.
Love to hear it.
Bravo. Bravo, team. And bravo to you. You were a spectacular taster today. You're sharp.
Thank you. Fresh palate.
How do you
And
get so
when
sharp? What's your secret?
you have to get excited about it. I was excited to try these because of what we talked about in the beginning of the video. So
Yep.
I was excited to try it. Thank you.
So, Jess, any final thoughts on the Milam and Green experiment called The Answer? Really fun. What did you think?
I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed getting to taste from Kentucky and Texas, comparing it, seeing the similarities. It's really neat to be able to do this and to have people in the industry wanting to share this with us too, because this gets me excited. This makes me want to write and explore more of their brand now. So yeah, I think it was two enthusiastic thumbs up.
Would you look at that? I think we can thereby expect to have a amongstthewhiskey.com write-up from Jes Smyth in the near future on Milam and Green.
Did you just give me homework?
Only if you're interested.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. I think people are really looking forward to hearing why these are different.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate whiskey nerd question, and they did a bang up job on the marketing for this. It is the answer, right?
Yeah.
It's the answer to that age old
I
question.
love it.
What is different about aging in Kentucky versus Texas?
Yes. It's just so clever. I love it. So, yeah, it's great.
Awesome. Well, spectacular tasting with you, and we look forward to seeing you on another episode on Amongst the Whiskey.
Can't wait. Thank you.
That's going to do it for today, folks. Until next time, keep it amongst the whiskey. Ooh, that was a good bang.